There's so many things that I've learned since becoming a Christian. So many things that didn't seem to matter before, and now I understand. One of those things was dressing to be attractive. And when you are an attractive female, you're very powerful. And the sky's the limit. You can grow up in the most humblest of positions. And if you're beautiful and you do yourself up and you read well, you can get, you can enter into any socioeconomic status you want through marriage. You don't have to go through the PhD route. You don't have to become a professional. You don't have to become the best in the world at something. That's what people normally have to do in order to get into the highest socioeconomic classes. You have to produce serious value, and that takes work, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of networking. You don't need to do any of that if you are the most beautiful 20-year-old woman out there, and you just put yourself in situations to meet people who have already made it that way. So the appeal to somebody who's not Christian to dressing in an attractive way, in a revealing way, is obvious. But the thing is that you can dress in attractive ways that are also modest. And that is very difficult to do if that's not modeled for you. And it's also almost never the trend. But the thing is that when you break the trend, you don't follow the typical trends, that's the only way to become the most beautiful. And the way to become the most beautiful and the most desirable woman happens to align with being the most godly woman, and that is to dress modestly and beautifully. So wearing looser, more flowy clothing that's high quality and that covers your skin and that does not hug your figure. That is the way to being beautiful. Dress in things that are genuinely beautiful on their own, not the trendiest, not the sexiest, but beautiful, like a work of art. And the thing is that when you dress in a more seductive way, you are going to get the most attention. But you're not aiming for the most attention. That is a bad place to be. So a lot of young girls, what they're looking for is validation. You want to dress in this head-turning way, and you want to be the one who draws the most attraction because you're getting validated. You're getting your body has changed, and you're not married yet, and maybe you haven't been proposed to yet, and you want to see where you stand. You want to know where you stand compared to your friends, and you want to know where you stand in general. But because, our society places a lot of value, and I think all societies ever have placed a lot of value on a woman's appearances and her ability to attract a husband. And so we have a lot of pressure in that area to try to be the most attractive. But the thing is that you don't want to get the most attention. You want to get attention from the best man. Okay, because you only need one husband, you only need one partner. When you dress in a head-turning way, like in more promiscuous clothing, you're going to get the most attention, okay, but you're going to be getting attention from frogs. You're going to be getting attention from all kinds of males, except for the kind of guy who's not looking for that kind of girl. Okay, the top guy is not wanting to be with a woman where everybody is staring at her. He wants to be with a woman where there's privacy and there's exclusivity, okay, and it's just the two of you. So Other men don't get to see the shape of his wife's butt, okay? Her pants aren't that tight. Other men don't get to see her cleavage. Other men don't get to imagine her figure, okay? Because there's not enough to go off of. She dresses in a way where all that is private. And the thing is, you will end up wasting a lot of time with the wrong guys when you're dressing that way, because you're going to be getting attention from all the frogs, and you're going to be getting attention from the guys who are the smoothest talkers, the guys who have the most experience. Those are the ones who are going to be coming after you, okay? And it's very difficult. I'm going to say it's too difficult to try to see through all of those people. It would take too much time. And too much trial and error, too much giving people a chance. You can't, you have to dress in a way where those kinds of guys wouldn't be attracted to you, okay? When you're dressing in a way that doesn't say they have a chance at sleeping with you, they're not going to go for you, okay? If you take two women, one is very beautiful, okay, the most beautiful, obviously, but she doesn't dress in a promiscuous way, and then you take another woman who is not very attractive, but she's dressing very promiscuously, most guys are actually going to go for the one who's not as attractive, but who dresses promiscuously. Why? Because she's easy. She's easier. This other one is going to take some work, okay? Now, some guys will try to do the work. They think, oh, it's worth it to try. But a lot of those guys are still frogs. But the guys who you actually want to be with, somebody who is going to be a high quality person, they're going to want to be with this one who's beautiful, okay? They're not going to be wasting their time over here with the one who's just for sex, okay? They're going to want to be with the one who is beautiful and who knows how to dress and who's wife material. She's wife material because she's not putting herself out there for everybody else. Okay, it's private. It's just for him if they decide to take it to that level. Okay? It's the kind of guy who goes for this more beautiful woman who doesn't dress promiscuously. That's the kind of guy who's willing to put in the work, and he's looking for a wife. All of the other guys, and you can be beautiful and dress promiscuously, and you're still going to get the same result. You're going to get attention from all of the guys, except for the guy who's looking for a wife. Doesn't that suck? The guy who is looking for a wife, who's the kind of guy that you want, who's going to be providing for you, that kind of guy is going to want to be with the one who is dressing more modestly. So that's one thing that I learned, and there's so much more to that because everybody else who's not in the dating pool can also see you and see how you dress. All of the women who are married don't want you turning their husband's head, or just all the women, even if they're not married, they don't want you turning their boyfriend's head, okay, or their crush's head, okay? That's just not going to make you popular with other women. Unfortunately, whether that's right or wrong, that's how it is. And also, the men tend to understand what I'm saying a lot more than women, okay? Women often don't understand what I'm saying right now, but you're not going to be popular with men either. I mean, you might get a lot of attention from men, but you're not going to be beloved. You're not going to be respected as their work colleague or as their friend, or as anything other than somebody who they want to hang around with and be nice to with the hopes that they might get laid, okay? So dressing more modestly and not putting yourself out there in that way where you're dressing promiscuously helps you in all areas of life, in your career and in all your relationships. So even if you're not religious, as always, it's better to follow God's rules because it's a rule book for life, and it's tried and true to, and tested. It's been around for thousands of years, and the laws in the book um, still stand today. Um, so that's a whole nother series of videos. It's a whole nother topic that I'll have to get into. But this one is just about why not dress promiscuously? Why dress more modestly? Imagine a Muslim woman where they wear the head covering and all that, but not with the head covering. Just more like an Americanized Muslim where you don't have to wear a head covering, but they wear the loose pants that and the long sleeve shirts, and they don't leave skin out. They don't show skin, and they don't wear things that are ultra tight or flashy. Definitely not going around in yoga pants. What I do, I'm not Muslim. I wear just dresses a lot of times, flowy, beautiful dresses, and I also like to wear sweaters with loose pants. And it looks very nice and put together, and it looks very beautiful. I know I don't present myself that way on YouTube, but when I'm out and about in my real life, that's what I'm wearing, and it's actually a lot more comfortable and easy to put on. And also, just for you, for your own mental health, you don't have to worry about people constantly looking at you, and you're constantly obsessing about your physique and what you're eating and all this stuff. And of course, you can still take care of yourself. Nothing wrong with that. But there's this level of constantly being self-aware and constantly being self-conscious, constantly thinking about yourself when you're wearing those kinds of things, because you know that you're being scrutinized constantly. Like, every curve is being observed and evaluated by others. And when you're just more covered up, you're more free to be a human being rather than like the prize pig who's constantly getting evaluated and judged and measured. You're more of a human and less of an object, and it's actually a lot more peaceful, a much more secure and just enjoyable way to live when you're not dressing promiscuously. There's just more privacy, and it's less about your physique and how you look, and it's less about you in general. And there's actually something good about that. When there's this saying that there's no difference between self-absorption and misery. When you stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking more about others, life gets better. And it's more miserable when you're constantly thinking about yourself. And when you're dressing in a way that's constantly turning heads and gaining attention, it's hard not to be thinking about yourself and thinking about that, thinking about how you look, and there's so much less maintenance to do as well. So anyway, I hope that helps. Dressing promiscuously is not the way to go. And I learned this because I wasn't a Christian before, and I enjoyed turning heads. And then after I became a Christian, I decided to be obedient to God and dress less promiscuously. And when I did that, I started to realize all the benefits. And that's what I've learned since becoming a Christian about how to dress.